Welcome to Microsoft Community Insights podcast, where we share insights from community experts to stay up to date in Azure. I am Nicholas, and I'll be your host today. In this episode, we'll dive into 5 years of Microsoft Sentinel. But before we get started, I will remind you to follow us on social media so you never miss an episode and help us reach more amazing people like yourself. Today, we have a special guest called Truls Dahlsveen. Sorry to pronounce it wrong. Can you please
Yeah, that was
introduce
right.
yourself,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah. My name is Truls, as you said. I work as a security architect in a company called Soprasteria in Norway. Um, I'm a Microsoft security MVP in uh, cloud security and CM and XDR. So I mainly focus on security monitoring and security products in Azure. And I think Microsoft Sentinel is probably my biggest point that I work a lot with. So yeah, no, that's me.
Okay. Can you tell us like what you do in a day-to-day job? So what does it involve before we dive
Oh,
into the topic?
yeah, no, it's a lot of different things. It depends, like on the week, but for the most part, it's about looking into how we can use Sentinel to provide a good service, looking into what's coming out, what's new, anything in the from Microsoft that we need to test, to try, to implement, to build. So for the most part, it is taking anything that we need to automate or to make run smoothly, to put that into pipelines, to put that into where we can easily get a product out very quickly. And that's for everything to do with security. So um, yeah, no, just anything. If there's a new feature in Sentinel, now you have the summary rules. So I will create pipelines to push the summary rules and to pull them and make it be deployable automatically and things like that is mostly like looking into how we can use these new features.
Mhm.
That's mainly what I do in a day to day.
Okay, so you're just looking through how you can automate some part of Sunny to make it your process easier in your job.
Yeah, exactly. I work in a managed security service provider, so
Yeah,
we deliver services to a lot of clients. So any way we can spend less time setting things up and more time creating cool new things and actually making uh, content like detections and automations that give value
yeah.
instead of spending time clicking and configuring. That's my job.
Okay. So let's just go back to the basic. So what, speaking of Microsoft Senator, what it is and what does it do? So can you tell us a bit more about what it is? What is Microsoft Senator?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna have to reboot my headset very quickly because it's
No worries.
yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. No, so yeah, no. For those who have not heard about Microsoft Sentinel, it is and I can share my screen and show. Um, but let me see here. This is the right window, I think. Yes. So Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud native security monitoring and security automation solution. Um, Basically, this means that we are able to connect data into this. We ingest a lot of different data, and using this data, we are able to run what we call analytic rules, or you might know it as detection rules or queries. But these detections will then give us um, incidents or alerts, and this is how we know. So take if someone signs in with a break the glass user account, which you're not supposed to sign in with, we can have an alert for that. And so every time someone signs in with it, we get notified and we can do something about it. Maybe someone was just testing, you never know, but that's basically what Microsoft Sentinel allows you to do, and a lot of other things. So if I were to get started, I would, connect data sources. In Sentinel, this is called data connectors. Here I can connect data from something like Microsoft Entra ID, which we all know, and then Azure Activity. And we can see, based on these logs, we can see what is happening in our tenant. And using that data, as I said, here I have a very bad attack detection, but um, we can look into these logs and we can have some sort of hypothesis. I've said that word completely wrong, but we can have some sort of idea about how something malicious would look in the logs, and then we can put that out as a query, and this will then give us alerts when something bad is happening. And then when we get detection, we can use the built-in automation to help us perform actions automatically on that incident. So something like if an incident happens, we are able to, uh, do certain actions with it. So this is the SOAR part, the security orchestration, automation, and response. It's always a mouthful to say that. So it allows us basically to have a full view of our environment, depending on what
Yeah.
logs we have, and act on the security things that we see in the environment.
Okay. So before we dive more into Microsoft Sentinel, let's go into the history of it. So where does Microsoft Sentinel come from and the journey begin from? So like where it come from in the past and now where it big at present now? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, no, for a long time, there was there was a lot of security monitoring solutions. There still is, but
Yeah.
security monitoring for a long time has been very on-premise based because a lot of things were on-premise based.
Okay.
A lot of people, when they think of security operations centers and security monitoring, they think about people carrying big boxes into a data center,
Yeah.
and then it goes into like a dark hole, not to be seen again. It's just ingesting a lot of data. But Microsoft Sentinel and a couple of others as well, we have used other products in the past. Is a fully cloud native solution. So this means we are able to use Sentinel without having any on-premise servers at all. So in the beginning, Microsoft Sentinel was very what do you call it? When we first tried it, it was very immature, as you would say. There was not a lot
Yeah.
of features. So in that sense, when it came out, it was missing a lot of these things we see today, like the automation rules was just playbooks. So you were missing a component. You did not have things like summary rules, and a lot of these things, these tabs you see here, like the entity behavior, all of these things, a lot of it was missing. It was not there. Um, Mainly in the beginning, we had the analytics and the workbooks, and then that was mainly it. So from that point, there was a lot of movement, you could say. We talked a little bit about it before the show started, but Microsoft Sentinel has been very strongly supported by the community. It has also
Yeah.
seen a lot of development over its years, and I think it's part due to there's a strong community on GitHub who is providing more content, and there's also a strong community in the CCP, or the Customer Connection Program for security, where there's been a lot of good feedback, good, as you call them, private previews, where you can sort of like beta test the solution. Um, there was a lot of good feedback there, and this has resulted, together with Microsoft's great product teams, has resulted in a very good product that looks a lot like what the customers want to see. Um, so some things that have been improved over the years, since I've been you know um, playing with it, is uh, the content hub.
Yeah.
Um, so the content hub, before the content hub, it was a bit of a mess to install things. Like, how do you get these different things to work? Like, you had to deploy them, from GitHub or something. But now, thanks to Content Hub, you're able to see, okay, well, I do know I have Entra ID, so I'm able to pick up the Entra ID solution. I can manage it here, and thanks to this, I am able to install this solution, which gives me the data connector, which gives me the data, but it also gives me all these templates in one very neat place. So it's easier for someone to, get everything that they need. So I think that's a really neat update.
Yeah. So
Uh,
before Microsoft Sentinel, what did people use on-prem?
yeah, and also there's a lot of different products. Splunk is one for sure, is a big one. ArcSight. We had something called IBM QRadar that we used, which we
Yeah.
migrated away from. And if you compare the two, uh, IBM QRadar on cloud was also cloud. Maybe I wouldn't call it maybe cloud native, but it was in the cloud as a SaaS solution. Um, well, what can you say about it? It was one of the things that is really strong, or was, it's still very strong, but it was very big from Microsoft Sentinel, was the playbooks. Um, and the difference was that if you wanted to send, at that point in time, this was around 2020, if you wanted to send a message or an update from QRadar into something like a IT management system, like for
Yeah.
ticketing, we could only send one single line. So everything we wanted to say, all of the information had to be formatted into a single line, which was very
Okay.
uh, dumb, because then we had to have like a single line JSON file, and we had to have some sort of logic in the IT service management system to pick all that apart. Um, and for Microsoft Sentinel, on the other hand, you are able to. I don't think this is a very good playbook I have here, but you were able to take all of these different data points and format them whichever way you wanted. And you also had what is called these connectors, these actions.
Yeah.
So you're able to, something like, if you want to test a very well-known IT service management system, if it wants to load, like ServiceNow, you're able to directly create connections and create records. So instead of parsing and manipulating a lot of data, you were able to do things like straight into the tools. And this very strong connection between Microsoft and all of the other partners that they have, where they did a lot of things for you, like parsing the data. So um, for the data connectors, if you install the solution like Azure Activity, when you connect the data, it is already parsed. That is not something that was normal before in Splunk and other tools.
Yeah.
You had to do the parsing yourself, which is, if you work in in monitoring or in security operation, that is not something insane that you need to do. It's not necessarily hard, but the fact that it is done for you, uh, it saves a lot of time. So a lot of these integrations, like the partner ecosystem that Microsoft had, made it very strong. It was very fast to get up and running very quickly, to get to a good level. And when we compared it to like the user interface also to previous solutions, it was winning on all fronts at that point. So that's sort of why we migrated away from the other solution.
Okay, and I take it those points are some of the key success why Microsoft Sentinel began 5 years ago, or you migrated across?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things um, that is not a part of Sentinel at all is something called Azure Lighthouse. That is more of a management tools for service providers, or if you
Yeah,
need to use it internally, but it allows you basically to, in the Sentinel context, it allows you to see Sentinel workspaces in your customer's environment without, sending data like across different places. So it allows you to look like to peer into a window of the
yeah,
data in the customer's tenant. So it made it a way that we could have, a single tenant, a single user account. It made day-to-day work a lot easier for our analyst instead of having to log into 100 different systems with 100 different user accounts and 100 different passwords. So that was very important. But also, yeah, as you said, the things I already mentioned, like the playbook support, the ease of use, and the ease of setting things up, and the fact that things are already parsed for you. Those were some of like the main strengths that made us change to Sentinel way back in 2020.
yeah. So how about the challenges? So what challenges did you face when you had to adopt or migrate to Sentinel? Is there any pain points
Um,
or anything that you find difficult?
yeah, no, for sure. One of the biggest pain points, of course, was the cost. The cost of Microsoft Sentinel is not cheap. If you compare it to
Yeah,
something like a Splunk license, it is a bit more expensive. But you have to consider the fact that the pricing um, for Microsoft Sentinel is improving. So you have a lot of different tiers of logging. So if you go
yeah,
into the tables, and you can see right now, I think most of my different tables or different log tables, they are in the plan called Analytics, which has full support, and it costs the maximum amount of money. But for some of the um, different tables, you're able to change the plan. Right now, I think there is two more plans that is called Basic and Auxiliary, which
yeah,
limits the things you can do, but it lowers the cost a lot. So there are improvements, but that is a big pain point for sure. Um, I think as well the way you are able to connect data. So today, if you connect in data from a source where it might be very verbose, so you're ingesting logs like syslog,
yeah,
it might be very noisy, or like a firewall log or Active Directory. It will be a lot of data. It will cost a lot of money. And so the way you are able to today filter that and manipulate that data and send it to different locations, it is quite limited. There are ways to do it, but not necessarily like in a way that works natively within Sentinel. You have to use third-party solutions to do it. Something like a data engineering pipeline like Cribble or Tensor, or you can use Azure Data Factory to manipulate the data. There is something called a data collection rule and a workspace transformation data collection rule, which is a mouthful to say, but that basically allows you to manipulate data in certain tables
yeah,
at ingestion time. So that means when the data is sort of like hitting your Sentinel, you can remove certain parts of it. But that is not very user friendly today. So you're not able to easily see what you are doing. Um, in that sense. So you're not easy to it's not easy to see like what you have set up, and how which tables you have, created transformations for. So it's a bit. I think the user interface in some places are still lacking. Um, but yeah, let me see if I can find.
Yeah, because before you told us that in your current workplace you tried to automate some of these. So can you describe more about what? Can you describe the process that you can automate in Microsoft Sentinel? Like what can you automate and what you can't?
Yeah, sure. So what is basically known as, we call it content,
Yeah.
but these are things like workbooks. They are things like hunting queries. They are things like analytic rules, summary rules. Um, there's a lot of rules, automation rules, and playbooks. These are all things
Yeah.
that you can push and pull from the API very easily, except for the workbooks. The API for the workbooks is very terrible, which is also one of the big pain points. But
Okay.
all of the different content points you see, so basically this is anything that has to do with creating an incident or automating an incident. uh, all of this can be automated. So you're able to, um, let's say you have 5 sub companies, you are able to quickly pull a default configuration from somewhere and push it out to all of those 5 at once. So that can be done. There's also a lot of other things you could automate, like setting it up and configuring it. Um, that's uh, it doesn't take very long, so it's and you won't set it up very often, so it depends how useful that is. But there are some configuration points like enabling different features that you could do with code as well. And lastly, you have in the playbooks, which are logic apps. Um, there is, as we know, the uh, what do you call it? The API connections, which gives access to different things. You are also able to automate setting these up and giving them access, which saves a lot of time instead of having to manually go and do it. So I think those are some of the like main things.
Okay. So what are let's talk about like the future of like Microsoft Sentinel. So where do you think Microsoft is going to when building up and improving Microsoft Sentinel as a product?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I think it's right now they are doing a lot of work integrating with Defender XDR.
Yeah.
It's not so long ago they launched the unified portal, which, for those of you who don't know, it lets you integrate Sentinel and Defender XDR together. So you are able to have all of the data, like all of the different tables, you're able to have them, these tables there, you're able to query both of them from one location, which is the Defender XDR UI. I think that's like a big focus point for them
Yeah.
because it gives you a lot of strength in that sense. Other things, they have pushed the summary rules recently. They are working on the different log tiers. I think um, they are trying to make it cheaper to use, like addressing some of these pain points. They're trying to make it so you can have a lot of data coming in without it costing way too much money. Um, I'm thinking they will also do at some point do something about the what do you call it, the um, suddenly my mind went blank, but I think they will also do something about the way that Sentinel um, like fundamentally works, because there's been a lot of when you connect to the XDR, maybe at some point we will see a a path where Sentinel is for some companies mainly accessed from XDR. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
And for sure, right now, as you can see, there is no security copilot here. I think for most other products like Defender for Cloud, Defender XDR, Entra ID, you have the security copilot integrations. It was announced at Ignite with some expansions. So now I think also at some point in the future, you will also see integration to Sentinel from Copilot. Apart from that, I think there are some small things that they could fix, um, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Sentinel itself, because some of the things that are my issues with it is like the Azure monitoring agent and the workspace transformation, and those things are sort of like a different team, I guess, like the data engineering part.
Yeah.
And then you also have Azure Lighthouse, which I would have, I want to extend the amount of roles you get, like maybe include Entra ID roles. Also, maybe make it work for, um, maybe have a solution so we can use either Lighthouse or identity governance for both Sentinel and Defender XDR with full support. Um, and yeah, I for sure, one thing I know for sure that they will be working on is right now there's a lot of troubles with the incidents. If you have the
Okay.
unified portal enabled, it
Yeah.
will sometimes reopen, remove, correlate wrongly. Like it will sometimes spend way too long on sending incidents to the right places. So there has been a lot of bugs related to the new connection between Sentinel and Defender XDR. I think that's for sure something they're looking into and will be like triaging in the near term future. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's like mainly it. Like my two main like issues with Sentinel right now are things that are not the Sentinel team's fault. It's Azure Lighthouse and the Azure monitoring agent. So yeah.
Okay. So for organization that's not like in Sentinel already, but it's already stuck still in on-prem, is there any advice that you recommend me to migrate to Microsoft Sentinel? Because it's like a one pane of glass for any like cybersecurity tool. Is there any recommendation?
Um, yeah. So I think start small. I think you can set up Sentinel today. It doesn't need to be a full migration. We in the beginning, a lot of people use Sentinel as an alert hub, so you can integrate
Yeah.
Sentinel with your existing tools, integrate with Microsoft sources. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money, but you can explore the strengths of Sentinel. If you already have something like Defender XDR, you can connect them together and like explore the suite here, because I think in a lot of sense it makes a lot of sense if you are a Microsoft shop to use the strengths in that ecosystem. I would say if you know if you if you're not a Microsoft shop, then moving into Sentinel is still might be an idea, but it depends on what you need, right? So it's never a case where I would tell everyone to move to Sentinel because it doesn't fit everyone. But if it's something where you're looking into, you know, you can move to the cloud. You're looking into how we need to automate more and things like that. We need to have easier way of working with things. We need to have these strengths that Sentinel give. They are what we are looking for. Then go ahead. um, but yeah, start small, connect a couple of log sources, start with a couple of queries, start with some simple automation, and then keep on building from there. The biggest mistake I see people making is they go to the data connectors, or they go to the content hub rather, and they find every single technology they have and they install all of the solutions. and then they go to the data connectors and they connect all of their data, and then they go to the analytic rules, and they click on templates, and they enable all of them. Because if you have all of the data and all of the detection, surely you must see everything, right? But
Yeah, and
then
that probably costs a
you
lot.
yeah, it costs a lot, and you will also have thousands of alerts every single day. So you will be spending all of your time trying to guess which one is the actual the actual uh, bad guy, and which one of them are false positives. So incremental steps, build it slowly, and it's always people and process before the tools. That's very important, no matter where you are at in the cloud or on-prem.
Yeah, that's correct. So speaking of the community-wise of the Sentinel, you mentioned this before that it had Microsoft have a security customer connection program. So can you speak about what it is and what it does with the community?
Yeah. So the customer connection program is a program for anyone who has a non-disclosure agreement with Microsoft. So in a sense, what this means is that um, if you're a customer or a partner of Microsoft, or a
Yeah.
Microsoft MVP or RD, it means you are able to get into the program. I have an article here from 2023 from the lead of the program called Christina, but it basically tells you everything you need to know. There is a lot of different customer connection programs for a lot of different things. There are one for Windows, for Entra ID, but for the security wise, it's mainly these three here: network security, Defender for Cloud, and Cloud or CM and XDR. And here you are able to test all of these products. They have what's called private preview. So this is before they become public. You are able to test them. You are able to give feedback. You will earn points, and these points, they will turn into badges. For those of you who like badges, I know a lot of people
Okay,
like
nice.
sharing those on LinkedIn. And you are also able to participate in a bit more closed engagements, where you will be able to provide um, input as something like a design partner. So this means you will be able to look at the solution before it hits the private preview. You are able to
Yeah,
explore the UI and tell them what you like, what you don't like, and you are able to actually influence like how Microsoft products end up looking, which is really cool. And I think it is. I'm not sure it's unique because but I participate quite a lot in the security customer connection program,
yeah,
and I think the community there, the people, they're always trying to explore the solutions. They're trying to find solutions to problems. They have great ideas for things. It's a very good community with a lot of very strong technical people. So being there not only to just provide feedback to Microsoft, but to just learn from others is a really like a big thing that will help you get better at uh, you know uh, doing anything in Microsoft security, really.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, because it's a big tool to know. It's a big SIEM product to know it all.
Yeah, and then you add the other products on top of it, Defender for
Yeah,
Cloud, and all of it. It is a lot of things. So, and there's a lot of like nothing but some of the products when they are new, because the way Microsoft does products, a lot of it is developed as they go, and you're able to shape that direction. It's not where you get a product and it's static.
yeah,
So that's a good thing, but it could also be a partly negative thing, because then the product is always changing. So if something changes that you didn't want to change, that might affect you. And sometimes also, they will make a change, and then when you explore the actual what's happening, it might be impacting negatively because there was like a bug or something. So there is pros and cons to like developing like this, but I think it's for us at least who have been active in providing feedback, it is at the end of the day a good thing.
Yeah, it's always good to help like the community, like Microsoft, to provide feedback to make the product as best as it can.
Yeah.
So, as we come to an end to the episode, we would like to ask you: are you going to any like security events or tech events in the future?
Um, I think actually because we talked about it. We were both at Ignite
Yeah,
last week. Yeah, yeah. So no, I think for now, at least until the end of the year, there is nothing for me, at least in person.
yeah.
Um, there is, the normal Christmas capture the flag. I will probably participate in a couple of those. There is a Norwegian one every December. So I think mostly I will do capture the flag.
So,
Maybe if there's some virtual
what is the
conference.
capture the flag? Is that like a community security program? Like,
No, so this is like what you call it's like a technical game in a
yeah,
sense. So there's a lot of different ones, but mainly I think it's the what is it called? Is it KringleCon? But it's um, I think it's a Sans that has one that goes every like December, where you
yeah,
basically do a lot of different like mini games. You hack and you do a lot of different things
yeah.
related to that, and you get points and you get on the scoreboard. It's very fun, but also you will learn some things
Do
about
you have the URL
yeah.
so we can have that?
Let me see
Just in
here.
case anyone wants to know more about it.
Yeah, so it's the holiday hack challenge. Um,
The
so
holiday
right
hack.
now, yeah, it's active right now. It actually started November 7th.
Okay.
So the last act is starting December 2nd. The last act. So currently it's on Act 2. But yeah, I'll put it in the private chat. This goes every year. It's really fun. But there is also a lot of different CTFs you can do out there that are very cool.
Okay.
Learn a
So
lot
that
of
happens
things.
every holiday season, like Christmas and maybe summer or so, or just Christmas period.
Just Christmas for this one, but there is a lot of other things that goes in the summer as well. Some of these challenges they go year round. It depends
Yeah.
on which capture the flag you look at.
Okay. Brilliant. So the last week's another question is: how can someone get started with Microsoft Sentinel, or what? How to get started in the community wise for it to get to know more about it?
So the good thing about Sentinel, which is like if you compare it to something like Google Chronicle or a lot of the other tools, is that you can get a free Azure account today with free credits, and you can set up Sentinel and you can start playing with it and exploring it hands on very easily. I think that is for all of the other products like CM products. I don't think there's anyone where you can get hands on like experience that quickly. And I think also the Microsoft Learn path for
Yeah.
it's the SC200 learning path for security analyst. It also has a bunch of things on the. If you're fresh to this, I would recommend doing that learning path because it's gonna show you something. There's a sandbox for it, and there's also now, which is I think it's quite new, but there's something called is it applied credentials in Microsoft Learn?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
applied skills credentials. So there is one applied credential skill. I'll send you the link so you can share it. But this is a configure and use, or this is a configuration. So this is an applied skill for configuring Microsoft Sentinel. So you're able to get hands-on to create and configure the workspace, deploying a content hub solution, as I talked about, setting up detection, setting up automation. You're able to do all this in this path. So that's in the applied credentials. So that's really
Yeah.
cool. I'm a big fan of the applied credentials.
Okay. So just for anyone knows, uh, so for the applied skills, you don't really need an Azure account. You just you have a library just in case anyone asks, curious.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for coming on this episode, Jules, and talking about your experiences in the 5 years of Microsoft Sentinel and the journey it began. So thanks a lot, and see you next time. So bye.
Bye.